Yo, what's up, robot? I've been trying to record some Zoom recently, but the recording software I've been using is shit. But I found these old Rush videos, so I thought I'd just make these because it's much easier, and I'll get some Zoom when I can get all that shit working again. Before I play the video, you need to know like some of the poker terminology. I'm not really sure what you know. The main words I'll be using first is like 3-bet and 4-bet. So these blinds here, those are the first bets. If this guy in the bottom left, Jake, were to raise, that would be the second bet. So if I re-raise him, that's a 3-bet. And if he re-raise me back, that's a 4-bet. I'll be using those terms quite a lot. And I'll say things like, I'm gonna 3-bet to 5-bet all in. So say I got 6-6 and he raises, then I 3-bet him. If he re-raises back, then I'll go all in with like the pocket sixes, which would be a 5-bet. So I'm gonna say things like, I'm gonna 3-bet to 5-bet, and yeah, we'll just roll with it from there. Also, I'll refer to the tables as table 1 top left, table 2 top right, table 3 bottom left, table 4 bottom right. Obviously, just makes things easier. And I'll try to talk about what players, and these are my stats here. I'll be like going over these as well, but we'll get into those as we come. So let's just roll with the video. I've got like 3 of these videos, so it's alright. So mostly I'm just like folding all the shit hands really quickly. What hands I'm not going to play, Queen 2, and just leaving the tables, waiting for the ones going to go. The actions, you can see the actions going really fucking quick. So when it gets like important hand, I'll pause it, but mostly just be looking at like the hands I'm folding from what positions and what hands I'm raising, and when I raise a certain position, a certain hand, I'll try to explain why. So here, roll in table 3, 4, 8, not going to play. Hopefully I'll get some decent spot spoon. Just immediately looking, like folding the shit hands quickly, because I know I'm going to play this hand, so I'm folding the rest. So I give my time here. Each time I raise, going to be raising to 3x the big blind. So to 6 from 2 here, obviously. Just keep rolling. 9, 10 suited, different player. Or on the button, I'm going to raise to 5 instead of 6, because people really like to 3-bet from the blinds, and so it kind of saves yourself a bit of money because you're going to have to fold to 3-bets, something like 75 to 80% of the time. So it just saves a little bit of money in the long run by raising to a little bit less on the button. But yeah, 9, 10 suited, monster hand, going to play that on the button. 6, 3 here. It's going to fold. Also, see what we're doing there is noting players. This is like one of the most important things you can do throughout the game, especially when playing Zoom or Rush. So I'll tell you my codes. Blue, basically I do it like hot and cold, where blue obviously being the coldest, as in like the really shit player. I do that because there's a site that kind of ranks players how good they are, and they put like red as in hot, as in he's on fire, he's winning loads of money, and cold as in he's a fish. So I kind of do the same, where blue is a fish, green is someone who's like really tight, so you don't really want to play with him at all. Orange is just like is kind of like a standard regular player, and someone who's red is someone who's kind of sick. So the main strategy being you want to play lots of hands with a fish, fold to the nits, the regs, so just kind of you have to mix it up a bit, and the guys in red you just leave them alone because they're sick, so no point playing the sick players. But here in the table 3 I've got like an open-ended straight draw against the fish. He just bets min. Some people might raise here, but there's not much point to raise. There's like $5 in the pot. He's a fish, he's never going to fold, so let's just call and see our draw for cheap. So we just call. Goes check check, folding king 8, calling king 9. Yeah, we hit straight on the river, so just bet big, hope he calls, and he folds. Ace jack, also raising that. King queen off, be raising that from every position. You have to learn, these are quite important. Like what hands to raise from what position is like the basic starting strategy. And my strategy is king queen from any position, king jack offsuit. I fold in these first 2 positions. I'm looking at table 4 here, but I'll raise from these positions. Oh, one thing I'll go over to the positions quickly. Obviously, blinds. This is under the gun. This is the hijack. This is the cutoff. And this is the button and blinds. I'll refer to those all the time, so that's something else you need to remember. Obviously, the button, the blinds, easy to remember. Under the gun, because you're in first position, it's obviously the worst position. So there's the worst position. this player here, Criver's Snake, and each position gets better until actually the small blind's the worst position. But they kind of play differently to here because they don't get to raise first. And so your main strategy is play very loose from late position and tight from early position, because you don't want to raise shit hands like King Jack from under the gun, because you have to think about what hands people are going to call with. People aren't going to call your raise with like King 10 and just go all in on a King high board with King Jack, because you're raising for first position, so they expect you to have a good hand, so they're going to call with things like Ace Queen and King Queen suited. So really you want to avoid getting these dominated situations, so don't raise hands like King Jack. Oh, and just for the record, we'll be raising every single hand. Like, there are very, very few situations where it's better to limp. But yeah, we'll come to those spots when we get to it. Roll the video. Got King Queen. 9-7 suited, table 3. I haven't got any interesting spots yet, but they'll come. Here, Ace Jack. I'll just pause it quickly. Got Ace Jack. It looks like a good hand, and he 3-bets, but the main play in force here is these are his stats here. He's playing 17% of hands, which is nothing, and that 3-bet percentage is that number there is the 3% percentage, which is 2%. And if you look at the top 2% of hands, Ace Jack is just completely dominated by by like so many hands. There's one program you can use here called pokerstars. I'll just bring it up quickly. So you just go this player and you go pre-flop. So he's 3-betting 2% of hands, yeah. So here you just type in 2%, and that's what it is. Ace, Ace, King, King, Queen, Queen, Jack, Jack. Those are the top 2% of hands, yeah. So look at, so apply. So you've got those hands. Those are his range, yeah. And you've got Ace, Jack offsuit. Look how well your hand plays against that. You have like 25% equity. To make any hand profitable to play, it has to have 51% equity or more against his range. So even though it looks like a good hand, this is just like a snap fold. But that's just a quick program, free. You can download it if you want to mess around with it. But I'll probably use it another time. But just minimize it and keep rolling. So obviously going to fold Ace Jack. King 7 suited again. Don't play these weak suit hands just because they're suited, like they're shit. Here we've got one caller with King Queen. You have to think about what kind of hands he's calling with. If he had, if imagine he had a King or Queen, it'd be good here because Ace King, Ace Queen. He's probably going to 3-bet pre-flop. So I imagine he's got a lot of hands like pairs in his range from like 10, from pocket 2s up to like pocket 9s, pocket 10s. So let's just see what happens. We get another caller here. Oh, that's another thing here. Purple, that's another one. So blue's the fish, green's the nit, orange is the standard reg, red is the super hot, and this purple, it means like they're just like a loose, aggressive retard. Like you see his stats here, 3-betting 16. So these are the stats, I'll go through them quickly. 3-bet, that's C-bet, which is how often they bet the flop after they raise. 71 is fold to 3-bet, and the 33 is their 4-bet percentage. So this guy's 4-betting 30%, 16%. Like he's just like a loose aggressive retard. You just call him like a lagtard. So those are also guys you want to play hands with, and you have to play very like they're going to play very crazy aggressive. So you want to try and make good hands with them. But here we've got King Queen. Flop comes Jack high. Decision to make here whether I'm gonna see I fold Ace 2 in table 1 there and there. The decision I have to make here on table 4 is whether I want to bet this flop, and I think it is a good flop to bet because this guy, we said a lot of hands going to call with like pocket 2s to pocket 10s, and so if you bet like once or twice, you probably get to fold here, especially considering there are 3 people in the pot instead of 2, which makes his hand less valuable if he's got something like pocket 8s. And also, with King Queen's a good hand to bet here. Like, I wouldn't bet like pocket 2s or something here, because there's no way we can make a good turn come for us. But say like a 10 comes on the turn, then we pick up way more outs. Say even if he's got something like Jack 9, Queen Jack, then if a 10 comes, then we can bet again, because we can hit like a king or an ace or a 9. And also we've got a queen of spades, and there's 2 spades, so if like a 9 of spades come, we can bet again because we've got a flush draw, and if we hit a 10 we hit a straight. Obviously folding if he raises on the turn, but the good hands we can barrel is to get him to fold hands like pocket nines, and that's something you always need to think about when you bet. Whenever you're, because essentially what we're doing there is bluffing, and so even though everybody has to bluff sometimes, you want to bluff when you have a chance to win the hand as well. You don't want to just bluff with like pocket twos here, just keep firing because you've got 2 twos and there's only 4 in the deck. So the only way you're gonna win the hand if he's got something like ace jack is by hitting a 2, which is never gonna happen. But if you've got something like king queen, then there are a lot more ways you can win the hand. So that's something else to consider. But yeah, all these things, I have to worry about it like too much. Just like they'll come up time and time again over. I've got 3 of these videos for Rush, so I'll do them all over the next like couple of weeks, and these things will come up time and time again. So let's just roll it. So I imagine I'm going to see a bet here, but if somebody bets into me, see, I'll just check his stats. Fold a bet, 56%. I'm always going to be checking stats. This guy just leads out. He's probably got something like ace jack, or maybe like just trying to bet pocket nines, but I don't really want to raise because this guy he's like an orange, which means that he's like kind of good, so kind of best to like not mess with the players who kind of expect you to raise here and shit. So imagine I just fold the queen jack there, table 2 against a good player. Queen jack is just an awful hand just to flat with. It's much better to 3-bet. I'll talk about my 3-betting strategy when it comes up. I normally start the session quite tight and then 3-bet more later on. So here you can see this guy raises 3-bet, c-bet. His fold to 3-bet percentage is like 72. So I'm just gonna re-raise in position this hand like king 9. And basically my 3-betting strategy you should have is you flat with like medium strength hands that are okay to call with, like pocket 8s, king queen suited, ace jack suited, and then you re-raise hands which are really strong, obviously like aces, ace king, and then but to balance, because if you only re-raise those good hands like that guy who's raising 2%, then people see, oh, he only raises 2%, 3-bets 2%, so I'm not going to call with hands like king queen. So what you do is you take hands like king 9, king 10, queen 10, hands that aren't strong enough to call, and then you re-raise them, and then that makes it really hard for you to play against, because you have all these hands in your range. Because say he's got like king queen, then he doesn't know, or he'll be like, if he sees that you re-raise king 9 one time, then he'll be like, shit, I've got king queen. That like crushes the king 9. But then by the time he does it, you might have the ace ace or the ace king, and you'll crush him. And that is just like such a powerful tool to have, because it just people never idea what you got. And so really, like, you can't re-raising any position, any hand in position here, like in the button. It's just like the most powerful weapon you've got in poker. So you're going to see me doing it quite a lot, and some boards you barrel, and like the boards play out in different ways depending on the opponent, and we'll just go through each individual situation as you go along. But it's taken a while, so let's just roll the video. So here, let's re-raise to 20 on the button, raise the queen jack suited obviously on the button. On the button I'm going to be raising lots of hands, probably about 80%. See people, you see me noting people all the time, checking their stats, like they're so important. Jack jack obviously going to raise, queen jack just going to bet this flop, get bet kind of the same amount each time, like 8 into 10. Bet sizing, something else really important. Look at how much like I'm betting in each different situation. There's sometimes the pot will be like 80 and you only see me bet like 25, 26, and when those situations come up I'll explain why, but at the moment but here I bet like 8 into 10 because it's enough to get him to fold like shit hands. Like if you only bet 3, then he's just going to call with like so many hands, like pocket 6s. You want to get him to fold, so you want to bet. And also, even though I'm bluffing, there are good times where you can have a good hand here, and when you've got a good hand you want to build the pot, so you need to bet an amount that you can bet again when you've got a good hand. There's no point betting 3 when you've got nothing and 8 when you've got a good hand, because people all know and they'll just fold when you've got a good hand. So balancing your bet sizing and kind of doing like very similar bet sizing all the time is like really important, and you'll see me do that a lot, and I'll mention my bet sizing as we go through the videos. Raising ace-4 off from the small blind because this guy's a nit, so he's playing like 18, 14, 18% of hands. It's not a much. And the things about nits, yeah, when I say nit, I mean someone who plays really tight, like under 20% of hands. Things about nits, you have to remember, they always have it. You think sometimes you've got like a medium strength hand, like just like a pair of jacks on like a jack high board, like pocket jack, you got like ace jack on jack 5-2, and a nit just 3 like bets into you 3 times. Like, just you have to remember the nits, they always have the good hands, and then you think, oh well, if they've always got the good hands and they're always like gonna win, then you think, well, why don't I just be a nit? And the reason that is because the rake kills them. They play so few hands and they're folding the blinds like that the rake just kills them, and actually their win rates are much lower than somebody who plays a lot more hands, plays worse hands than them. And it is about getting a balance. But the way to rape nits and make up for the fact that they've always got a good hand against you is to constantly raise their blinds, 3-bet them. They fold 3 bets here, another nit, a third policeman, folding to 3-bet 82% of the times. Like, if someone's folding, if somebody raises, yeah, they put $6 in plus the 2, and there's 1. And so and all you have to do, he raised to 6, all you have to do is re-raise it to 18, and if he's going to fold 82% of the time, and you can do that at like, you're playing 4 tables for like 6 hours, you can do it like 100 times in a night, and if they're going to fold 82%, so if they folded 100 times, you'd win the $9 100% of the time, which would be $900, but he actually folds 82%, but you still get 82% of the $900. So like 3-betting nits and just raising into them is the way to rape them. But there's different strategies for all different players. We'll go through them as we go along. Seriously, there's so much to explain. I could just sit here and talk for hours without actually playing the video, but that would be pretty boring. So just going to try and roll with it, and then if there's anything you want to know afterwards, you can just message me on Hallbook. Also writing notes about what they do, how often they bet, what hands they re-raise. There's so much information to take down that you can use at later dates. Here, Jack. Just gonna bet this flop, obviously. Want to get value from hands. Or I think he might call with any pair from like pocket 4s up to pocket 10s. And if he's got something like 9-10, he's obviously going to call 5-6. Might flat ace-8, I'm not sure. So yeah, there's so many hands you want to get value from. I see so many fish do weird things, just like check here for like deception, but like it's bullshit. Like if you're not really sure what to do, betting is normally the best option. So here, betting quite big, like 14 into 16. It's about like 75-80% of the pot each time. Again, balancing, not wasting so much money when you haven't got anything. I see fish do things like re-raise ace-ace and just pot like any flop, and it is like the dumbest thing, because that is so hard to balance. Because when you've got nothing, you don't want to pop the flop because they raise and you just wasted all that money. So this is why like 75% is the perfect balance between saving money when you've got nothing and getting value when you've got a good hand like we have here. So that's what you do. So I'll kind of do that line. Here, pocket 9s in table 1. Just going to see what happens before we decide what to do. This guy 3-bets. It's kind of like a bit of a gross spot. Like, don't really want to fold because like in pocket 9s in the big blind when the button raises is quite a strong position. But when this guy raises and he's only got $100, like stack size is so important. Can't really, don't really want to call. I don't really want to raise to go all in. The main factor of play actually here is that we only have one hand of data on. This is the first hand, and he's raising. And the general rule of thumb is if you don't know anything about a player, you have to give them credit. you can't just assume, you can't just be like, well, nine is a strong hand there, because so many times you think, well, nine's a strong hand, I'm just going to be raising goal in, and then I'll play this guy for another 3 hours and find out he's like the biggest nit, playing like 5% of hands, and he had like ace here, and you're just like kicking yourself, going, I wish I'd just had that information about the player. I never would have gone all in with nines and wasted the $100. So the general rule of thumb is wait until you've got information on a player and you know that they're an idiot. Like if this guy's 3-betting like 12% here, then nines is just a monster, and I'm going to go all in against his $100 100% of the time. But if he's 3-betting like 1% over the next like 500 hands, that's 100% not what I want to do. So showing I have no information, I think the best play is just fold and wait until I do have more information on this player. So I think that's what I do. Yeah. A6 off in the big blind, shit hand, but just gonna snap forward it when someone raises from early position. Even if like he raises, he goes into 12-3 obviously here. He calls. I'm not gonna call. Like the only way you're gonna get any money from someone is if the flop comes like ace a6 and someone's got like ace queen. And that is going to happen like 0.02% of the time or something ridiculous. So, and all the other times you're either going to fold the flop and wasted the $6, or someone's going to have like ace queen, the flop's going to come like ace 2-2. You're going to call once, call twice, and then fold the river or whatever. Like it's just going to lose money. So don't play these hands. Here, pocket eights, raising the big blind. Marking this guy as a fish because after these few hands you can see he's already played 33%, raised 33. So it's not, doesn't mean he's definitely a fish, but that's just like a preliminary judgment. So they're going to do that until otherwise. But pretty good flop for pocket eights. Obviously going to bet pretty big, try to get value. He calls. And now the question that now a lot of things we see amateur players do here is check and go, oh, the queen comes, it's card higher than 8. I should probably check this to like control the pot. I don't want to get raised. But really, like think about it, like how could that queen possibly hit the hands he's going to call with on the flat plot? Look at the flops, like 6, 7, 2. What's he going to call with? He's going to call with like any 6, any 7, probably pocket 5s and shit as well. He's a fish, so he's going to call any pair. He's going to call any straight draws like 8, 9, 9, 10, 4, 5, and so a queen makes up a very small percentage of range. Yeah, sometimes you might have like queen jack of clubs, and you bet and he raises something. But if you bet and he raises, just fold. It's much better to bet and get information, because if you check all those hands like 4, 5, 10, 9, like 10, 9 has got so much extra to you. It's got 3 10s he could hit, it's got 3 9s he could hit, and there's the other 2 8s. So it's 3, 6, 8 outs twice. So 8 outs twice is each card is worth 2%. So to hit on the turn is 16%, then to hit on the river is 32%. So 10, 9 actually has 32% equity against your hand here. And you don't want to let him realise that equity for free. So it's much better to bet again here and then check the river, because you want to fold out those hands like 32% equity. Like there's $30 in the pot here. 32% equity is worth a third of that pot, which is $10. So by betting here, you're pretty much guaranteeing you don't let him realize that 30% equity. So you're basically saving yourself $10 in this situation just by betting again. So I imagine I see myself bet again here, just to get value from those hands. Doesn't mean I'm not going to bet the river, obviously, because there isn't a worse hand that's going to call, but there are worse hands that can call the turn. So that's why I'm betting again. And value betting like that is very important. Amateur players really don't do it at all. It's like one of the biggest things that separates amateurs and professional players, like value betting thinly like that, because you might even still call with a 6 or a 7. So getting value is much more important than betting because you're scared about not having the best hand anymore. A lot on the action here. I will be jabbering on quite a bit. There's like so much to talk about, but you probably have to watch the video once or twice to take it all down. But yeah, it's always when you've got no hands, just like noting players. Even when you're not in a hand, you can watch other players, and if you can learn that other people are fish and watch them play with other hands, not just your own, then it's just like free information. So make a note of it. Like notes and looking at stats are so important in Zoom and Rush because of the format. There's pools of players. You won't see them for a while. So taking notes on someone is like the most valuable thing you can do. Lots of fish here, 2 fish in this table. It's unlucky you haven't got a hand. Pocket sevens, table 3, obviously going to be playing this sometime. Again, raising to 5 on the button. Now, this guy 3 bets. He's only playing 14-14. He's only got 130. He had a $143 stack to start with. So I really doubt I've got the best hand here. When fish do this little 3 bet, especially in nit, it's just kind of like queens, kings, and kings, like almost like 95% of the time. So if you raise to 15 here, I would definitely fold. But showing you only raised to 10, it costs us 5 more. There's a pot of like. The pot will be 21. I put in the 5, and I'm pretty much certain if I hit a 7 here, I'm going to win his stack. So that's the only reason I'm calling. I actually can't remember what happens in these hands. This video was recorded like a year ago, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, we don't get a 7. He checks. Just going to check down. Not going to try to bluff at him. Fish often re-raise something like aces, then check because they think they're being so sneaky. Or I showed strength, and now I'm going to check when their players like so bait. So not going to bet, just going to try and hit a 7. Then he bets. He's obviously got a good hand. At worst, some people might call it and go, well, he checked the flop, so he might have ace king, and now he's betting because he's got like a straight draw. But like that is just like a really dumb argument, because if he's got aces, kings, queens, or anything, then you're absolutely crushed. There's no possible, like, you're never going to hit a 7. There's 2 outs. It's less than 4%. It's never going to happen. And even if he does have ace king, yeah, he's got 3 aces to hit, 3 kings, and now 4 tens. So that's 10 outs. So he's going to have decent equity. So either you're against ace queen, ace king, and he's got decent equity, or he's got pocket aces, and you have 2% equity. 3% or whatever, so it's just an awful spot to call. So just never call there. Even that's another thing amateur players and fish love to think. They go, every time someone we raise him, think he's got ace king, and they'll just go into calling station mode with like pocket 8s and pocket 9s as on any board, as long as an ace or king doesn't come out. And it's just a dumb argument. You can't think about the one hand they've got. You have to think about the range and your equity against that range. And when hands like aces and kings and queens are also in that range, these like medium pairs are just so crushed. Even though they look strong, pocket 9s can look really strong when the flop comes like 10, 6, 2. When someone just like bets twice in a 3-bet pot, like you're just really up against it, and you want to avoid these situations where you're just kind of guessing what they have and just calling because you're curious and all this shit. It's just setting money on fire. So you can see, try to see him play quite tight with those like pairs like pocket 7s. Here, raise king 8 suit on the button. It's a standard open for me on the button. Like, I'm really gonna be see I'm raising jack 2 suited. Like, I'm pretty much raising any suited cards on the button, anything that is remotely playable, just because the button's just the most powerful position. I could show you stats on my poker tracker which shows how much money you won or lost on each different position, from like under the gun, cut off, hijack, button, and the amount you win like in the button compared to the small blind is like literally tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars difference. It's like you wouldn't believe. So yeah, the button is just incredibly powerful, and you just got to milk it. But here, folding king jack off, table 2, if you notice that. Pocket 10, folding king jack off again. Pocket 10, some people might be tempted to re-raise here on table 1, but really this guy's a nit. You see he got him marked as green. He's only raising 14% of hands. If you have a quick look, 14. So player 1, he's raising 14%. Apply. We've got Claire. We've got pocket 10s. Yeah, we have like decent extra against his range actually. But the thing is, if we re-raise him and then he re-raises back, we just have no idea what to do, because he's going to go all in with like hands like ace king, maybe ace queen if we're playing very aggressively, and then we're just kind of in an awful situation, because even though 10-10 has 50% equity against ace king, because ace king is such a strong hand and he can play it so aggressively, we might not get a chance to realise that 50% equity, and that's just a disaster for us. If he's got ace king or ace queen and we've got pocket tens, we want to see a flop. So even though it's a powerful hand in general, because other people could play over cards like ace king and ace queen so aggressively, we want to keep the pot smaller pre-flop so that we get to realise our equity. So yeah, I'm just going to flat with 10-10s, and it's quite deceptive as well. It's quite a strong hand. Some people think you might king 10 off fold that. People might think you might re-raise it. So they've got something that hands like pocket 8s, pocket 9s, and the flop comes like 2-2-4. Then you're going to be able to get like a decent amount of value from them, because they're not going to expect you to have a hand that much stronger than theirs. If he's got pocket 9s, you think, well, he's probably going to re-raise pocket jacks, pocket queens, kings, aces, obviously. So there's only like 1 or 2 hands I lose to. So you can actually get quite a bit of value from being deceptive. Same situation here with the pocket 9s. Okay, we've got 2 interesting spots here. Let's go through table 2 first. We've got pocket 9s. We flop a set, so basically we've got the nuts. Imagine he's going to continuation bet here. Oh, we've got hands on all 4 tables. This one it gets a bit interesting. Okay, I don't have to talk about first. Okay, basically pocket 9s, we've got a strong hand, yeah? And when you've got a really strong hand, we want to get as much money into the pot as possible. So, preferably the entire stack. So, and the only way to get the entire stack in, really, is to raise on the flop and bet big on the turn and shove all in on the river. So when he c-bets here, imagine I'm going to raise to try and, because I want to get value from hands like ace king, ace queen, and also when people raise a flop with a flush draw, then when there's a flush draw on the board, then people might think you've got a hand like 9-10 of clubs here, or like king queen of clubs, and want to get all in with the big flush draw. So they're going to try and protect their hands like ace king by re-raising you on the flop and getting it in with their like 60% or equity or whatever. So I really like a raise here with pocket 9s, and imagine I do that. I think if I remember he folds, but anyway. Here we've got pocket 8s, table 3. It's going to wait to see all the action. I was going to fold to the small blind. If he raises, I'm just going to call. Queen jack suited again, and table 4 here, depends on the action. If a nit raises, it's like a really bad hand, but if somebody like this guy C goes playing 22-20 raises, it's quite a good hand to either 3-bet or call with, because it flops quite well. You can get like decent top pairs and straight draws or flush draws that you can kind of barrel or go all in with. So there, and now here we've got pocket 10s. So this is probably the most interesting hand. So he raises and we just flat. Now this guy makes what is known as like a squeeze play, where he kind of squeezes the 2 of us and makes a raise. Now if this guy was a nit, I would definitely fold here, because this guy, if you look at the information we got, this guy's a nit and he raised from early position, and I called his early position raise, and so for this guy to make a re-raise, I imagine him to have a strong hand like jacks and ace king plus, because this guy's got such a strong range for opening with from first position anyway. But this guy isn't a net, he plays quite aggressively. I'm not sure, sometimes I have their squeeze percentage here, but sometimes if somebody is like very, very aggressive and does this play a lot, then going all in here with 10-10 is okay, because you're gonna, if he's got hands like king queen, king jack, hands that people squeeze with, then they've got 50% equity against you. So hands like king queen have a 50-50 chance to beat you, yeah, because he's got two over cards 5 times. So it's 50-50. But the difference is we can go all in with 10-10. He can't go all in with king queen. Like if we re-raise here, like he can't go all in with king queen because our range is stronger. We could have ace king or ace queen and he's crushed. If he goes all in with king queen there, then he's a fucking idiot. And so that's why 10-10 could be really profitable to go all in here, because even though it's 50-50, it's a break even against king queen, but he can't go all in. So we actually make money from what is known as fold equity, and that fold equity is here is he put 6 in. There were the 2 blinds that were 2 and 1, and that was my 6. Now he raised to 26. The total pot here is $40. So 50-50 against him, against the king queen, we're going to get $20 each. But by going all in here, then we're going to get, against king queen, we're going to get that $40 100% of the time. So we're going to get the whole $40 instead of 20. So mathematically it's good. And you go, yeah, sometimes he's got like aces and kings, and against those when we have 20% equity and we're crushed. But then a lot of times we're going to have ace king, ace queen, which we have 50% equity against, so that's break even. So the amount you can win in the fold equity here, if he does this, and this is only if he does this a lot, is very player dependent. If he does this a lot, then winning that $40 over and over again, you make more money than you would lose against the times you've got aces and kings. But in this particular situation, I'm not sure if this player is aggressive enough to this sort of time. He only 3-bets 5%, so I imagine I'm just going to call here. Yeah, Queen Jack suited, raising from the small blind. Pocket nines, I'm raising, like I said. Quite a good flop. Pocket tens, ace king, ace queen. Missed, and if we call, I'm not sure it's a board he's just going to barrel off with ace king, because there's a chance that we could have like pocket eights or even a jack and never going to fold, so he's not going to bluff against that range. So I imagine if he bets here, I'm just going to call. Just checking how often he continuations bets. And now if he bets again, imagine if I fold, because he could have squeezed something like king jack, ace jack, even though it kind of sucks because if he's got ace king he's just going to barrel this turn. But also when he bets this turn, you have to think what he thinks about your range. Your range for calling that flop is pocket nines, pocket tens, any jack. If you've got pocket 8, you're just going to call, or if you've got something like 9-10 or queen 10, you're going to call. So a lot of those hands connect with this queen here, so it's not, so when he thinks there's a good chance you had a good hand on this board, he's not likely to bluff. If you kind of understand that kind of thinking, you have to think about what does he think about what you have. And when you call that flop, you could have a really strong hand, because hands you're going to call the raises before the flop are like pocket 8s, maybe ace jack, jack 10 suited, queen jack suited, and so you could really have him crushed here. So I don't think he's just going to barrel off and bluff away his whole stack when with like something like king 10, king 9, just because there's a chance he's just putting money in drawing dead. So when he bets this turn, it kind of sucks, because people think, oh, I'll call again because I could hit a 9, but really, like, you could already be dead. You could have pocket queens and have just turned a full house, or queen jack, maybe even something stupid like pocket 8s. Occasionally people have quads, pocket jacks, and so if there's a chance you're putting money in, you're drawing dead, it's just not a good spot, so don't call here with pocket 10s. Here, raise king 10. Just going to fire this flop again, 14 to 19. He raises. There's not really much you can do. We checked his stats. He hardly ever raises. He's playing 13-16, so he's just a nit. There's nothing. It's not tempting to call, even though you could hit like a backdoor straight or something. It's just never going to happen. So just have to fold the king 10 here. King it off, obviously going to fold that. We'll just see how long this video is so far. 40 minutes. Alright, I'll make it like 45. playing any ace on the button. Obviously, if we're playing, just think if we're playing Jack 2 suited on the button, I'm pretty much playing anything. Not 3-10 off. That is probably like the bottom of my range there that I'll fold. King 10 offsuit, not raising that from under the gun. 5-2 off. Here we've got pocket fives. You can see what happens. See here, a lot of people here are tempted to call with pocket fives, but it's really a bad spot. Like these low pocket pairs play so much worse than you think. Your chances of flopping a set are so low. Even if you do flop a set, there's no guarantee that someone else can have a really strong hand and you're going to win shitloads of money. And here this guy's only got $74, so if you call and he calls, he might think, fuck it, I'm just going to go all in, like my pocket six are over limited and you have to fold. And so I'll call here maybe like pocket eights, pocket nines, pocket tens, pocket jacks. I'll probably 3-bet because this guy's going to raise these guys limp a lot. Yeah, pocket fives, I think it's just a fold. Maybe I made a mistake and called here. No, I didn't. Good. So pocket threes, raising any pair from any position. Pretty obvious. Get a call by a short stack, which isn't good. You want to avoid playing short stacks. They're annoying. Just go all in too often, you can't bluff them. Jack 10, some offsuit, some people tempted to call there, don't overcall. Here, pocket threes. This is a situation where you see me bet the flop quite a lot after a raise. This is a situation where I'm 100% not going to bet the flop, and that is because of the texture of the board. Look, like King, Queen, 8. He's only got $52 here, so he's just going to go all in with like any hand. You don't get him to fold anything. And how many hands are going to call this flop? Any king, any queen, any 8, Jack 10, Ace Jack, Ace 10, any flush draw, 9 10, any pocket pair from like between 9s, 10s, jacks. He's probably not going to fold to 1-bet. And we've only got pocket threes. The chance of hitting the 3 is so minimal. This is just like the worst spot in poker to try to bluff and win the pot. So I'm just going to check and give up, I imagine. I hope I do. Can't remember what old me did. Yeah, especially against 2 other people. Definitely going to fold. Here, pocket 9s on the button. Just going to flat for the same reason I just flatted the pocket 10s. Again, flop a set of pocket 9s. Pocket 9s lucky hands today, raising king 6 suited on the button. Obviously, against this guy who thinks of fish. You want to play hands with fish. He checks. I bet quite big. 9 into. You can see what he does. Again, this flop here, king 6, not going to bet on the 10 9 4. Just look how many hands are going to call that flop. You have to think what the range of hands going to call that flop. Any 10, any 9, any 4, any 7 8, any king queen, any queen jack, any jack 8. Overcards like ace king, ace queen, obviously going to call, and any flush draw. There is so many hands that can beat you, and there's such a little chance you can win the hand. What you can do can like you come jack and then queen, or you can hit a king. Even then there's a flush draw on the board, so your outs might even be dirty. So just going to check, give up. If he checks, now that he checks twice, I'm going to decide to bet, because now you can think, oh, I can get him to fold hands like pocket 5s, a6, because if he has something like queen jack or jack 8, the hands I mentioned, imagine he would bet this turn, but now that he checks and we pick up more outs, now we've got a queen or a king to win, which is 7 outs, so we're bluffing with a bit of equity. Just decide to take a stab at it on the turn, try and take down the pot. It's called a delayed continuation bet. He calls, and I have to decide whether I want to bluff or not on the river. You can see what he does. Here, this guy's only got $40, and we've got ace queen. He's raising a lot. Ace queen just crushes the range of hands that he's opening, playing 43% of hands. Ace Queen just crushed that range, especially when he's only got $40. So I just re-raise, hoping he would go all in, but annoyingly he just calls. But it doesn't matter, actually flop top pair. Still deciding whether I should bluff with the King 6, trying to see if I've got any stats on him, but I don't. This guy just open shoves with Queen 10, he's drawing dead. Yeah. So he had 4-8. I'm glad I didn't bluff because he was never going to fold. Just when that 4 comes in the river, there just aren't many hands he's going to fold. He's probably not going to fold a 10 or a jack or anything really, and he happened to hit a 4. So that shows he's a fish. That's why I marked him as blue. Shouldn't be playing 4-8 suited at the big blind and calling with bottom pair on that turn. It's just awful. Here this idiot's just giving us his money with Queen 10. Here raise flat Ace King, flat Ace Queen. He raised from early position. We just called. He checks this flop. I'm just going to bet to try and take it down. He's a net, so he's going to fold a lot. Just bet a lot into nets. Just checking that, seeing what he's got. Pocket 10s, obviously raising it up. Ace 5 suited on table 4. Small blind raises. We're just going to call. Could 3-bet because he's a net and he's going to fold, but it plays relatively well in position, making top pairs never bad, and we can get the nut flush draw, so just going to flat. Pocket 8s on the button. Ace 5 call. Ace 5 might be the best hand on this flop, but there's just no good turn cards for a hand, and he's quite tight. He's only c-betting 50%, c 3-bet 7%, 50% c-bet, which is continuation bet, which is after they raise, what percentage did they bet the flop. He's only doing it half the time, so just going to fold ace high on that board. Pocket 8s here. It's tempting to check to try to keep the pot small because the queen's on there. He might check raise with something like a flush draw, but if he raises, I'm just going to fold. I think it's much better to try to protect your hand here against something like 9-10 or King Jack. Like even King Jack has like 25% accuracy because he's got 6 outs, the 3 kings, the 3 jacks, 6 outs, and he's got the turn and river to hit them. So there's 6 outs, 12% on the turn, 12% on the river. So it's like 24% accuracy. Whereas King Jack is going to fold this flop. If you just check it down, you're going to lose the pot 24% of the time. Not to mention the times he bluffs you out with something like Jack 10 just because you check the flop. So I think it's better just a continuation bet your 8s in this flop and try and take it down. If he calls, just kind of give up. 10-7 suited, not going to play that from table 1. 8-4 suited, King 10. Going to see what other people do. This guy raised to 4x. It's not going to mess when people raise more. They're more likely got a stronger hand, so just going to fold. King on offsuit, not going to play that from the cutoff. King 7 suited here. It's not really a hand that's good enough to call, but this guy's a fish, and I like to play 3-bet pots against fish because they just can do stupid things and spaz out. When there's like when you re-raise them, they get angry and they want to win the pot. So you can kind of like 3-betting fish is just, and he knows a fish. We marked him as blue, so I'm just going to re-raise his King 7 suited. Because he's a fish, yeah. So he's going to call the really shit hands. He's going to call with hands like Queen 6 suited and Ace 2. And when people are calling with such shit hands, then what it means they're going to do is they're going to hit the flop very few times, yeah. So if I was playing against a good player here, one of the guys who plays in who I've marked as red or orange, I know that they're not going to call with hands like Queen 6 suited. The minimum they call with hands like pocket 8s, pocket 9s, pocket 10s, Ace Jack suited, Ace Queen, and so those guys aren't so good to 3-bet because they're going to have a weak range. They're going to have a strong range against you, and so if you've got a weak range like King 7 suited is like a weak hand, then you're not going to be able to beat them as often. But against a fish who's playing all these shit hands like Queen 6 suited, like here this is fold to 3-bet is 63%, so he's playing like 37% of hands in this situation. Again, to quickly bring up Poker Stove, player 1, pre-flop, So he's got 37% of hands in a 3-bet plot. All these shit hands like pocket fours, ace 4 off, jack 7 suited, 10-7 suited, all these weak hands that are just really unprofitable to play, he's got these in his calling range, and so you just re-raise him and make the pot 36 instead of like the 14 it would have been, and then he checks, you just bets like 2/3 pot, like 24 into 36, imagine I bet here, yeah, and he folds. And that is another way where it's just like printing money, just 3-bet against fish. If he calls this flop, then I'm probably gonna close down on most turns and rivers. Close down as in not bet anymore. If he calls, he's probably just got something like jack 8, jack 7 suited, and he's just never gonna fold top pair. But if I get hit, obviously if I hit a king or an ace, I might bet again. King, because I got the best hand majority of the time. And an ace because he expects me to have ace king, and you can get him to fold hands like pocket sevens. But most of the time you just re-raise, make the pot 36 before the flop, bet 2/3, like 70-75%, they check folds, and you just win. Most of the biggest deal is when you re-raise, you take the initiative, because when you re-raise and they don't re-raise back, you have pocket aces in your range, but they don't have pocket aces, because if they had aces, then they would 4-bet you before the flop, right? Sometimes you can trap just by calling with aces, but it's better to 4-bet. And so when you re-raise, you're just representing such a strong range, and that means they have to have a decent hand to continue. They just can't keep calling this flop with like ace 2, because they could be absolutely crushed. So that's why just 3-betting in position and betting 2/3 of the pot is just such a powerful move, because you just got such a strong range when you do it, and it's just print money. And that's just like an example of it there. And folding with shit hands, got a 3-bet the queen 5 suited on the button. (10-7) suited, just going to defend. Sometimes if it was against a fish, I would 3-bet this, but against a good player, for the reason that I just said, he's going to call with like stronger hands, and he's probably going to bluff me, more like 4-bet bluff me, because he knows I 3-bet as a bluff a lot, so he'll 4-bet as a bluff a lot. So he's going to call here and play a hand in position. It's suited, so you can always flop some decent equity like we have here. Tempting here to raise or call. The thing is, if we raise, we're representing such a narrow range. We've got like king queen, king jack, king 10, and pocket 5s. Those are the only hands that we're re-raising for value. So that might give him an opportunity to bluff, because when we're representing such a narrow range of hands that could be strong, then that gives him incentive to bluff, because you go, well, what has he got? What, he just call with king queen and flop trips? Like, how often does that happen? Like 2%. So he goes, so if I raise and the flop and I make it 24, that means there's like $40 in the pot, and that gives him incentive to win it. So if I make it 24 and he re-raises it back to 60, then we have to fold our 10-7 suited, which actually has decent equity. So I much prefer just to call in this spot, and I'll do the same with like there are so many more hands you're going to call with, like pocket 6s, pocket 7s. You don't want to raise those for the same reasons. You don't want to get bluffed off of your equity. So you just balance that. By the time you got like pocket 5s, then you just call and call again, unless the guy's complete like lagtard and is going to spew out over your raise. Then a lot of the time it's better to just slow play and let him try to bluff you, because you've got a pocket 6 or something. He might think, oh, he's just got pocket 7s, I could bluff him. If like a ace or a queen comes, then I could probably get him to fold by the river. But then like you turn up, rock up with like pocket 5s, and he's like, oh shit, I shouldn't have bluffed. So I just like a call here with the 10-7, the flush draw. Probably just going to call again, just like I would if I had like pocket 5s or king 9. Oh no, I fold. I guess the reason for fold nowadays, I would probably call that because I think he's going to double barrel, as in bet twice that board, because of the reason I said. So nowadays, I did make this a year ago. Nowadays I might call that turn. But the other factor was that he was a good player. I marked him as red. he's going to bluff with like very good frequencies, and he's going to understand what hands I could possibly have in each situation a lot better than most people. So I'm probably going to just more reason to fold. Just try to stay away with good players who are going to play aggressive in the right spots. It's not like an awful fold, it's not like a crazy bad fold to fold a 10 high flush draw on the turn. I'll just do like 2 more minutes and then I'll post this video up online. Here, good flop to continuation bet, raise a7, just bet the flop. But when he calls this, and see he's playing 9-0, those are his stats, so he's a nit, he's a tight, which means they've always got a good hand. And when this 9 comes on the turn, it's really bad card just to bet again, because like think about what hand he's going to call the flop with, like any king, any 9, maybe like queen jack or pocket jacks, like obviously if he's got a 9 he's going to raise, and say I bet 22 here, it's just going to waste $22 because he's just going to raise. If he's got a king he's never going to fold, and now that I've hit a 9, if the board pairs, it makes it less likely that I've got a strong hand, so he might not even call with something like, he might not even fold pocket jacks or pocket 10, so it's a really an awful spot to bet again. So I'm just going to check, and if he bets, obviously just going to fold. And it's a king queen, like there's no point in just betting, like, he's not going to fold that in a million years, so let's just check it down. Ace king here, obviously going to raise. Ace king is the nuts. Think I'm going to 3-bet. Okay, so here, right. Let's go through these 2 hands and I'll call it a day. Our 3 interest hands, we've got pocket kings table 2, obviously folding 2, 3 in table 1, so ignore that. Here we've got ace king on table 3. Basically in this situation there are nuts. This is the nuts, as in I want to get as much money in as possible. I'm never folding, even though this guy's only 3-betting 6%. That doesn't say what positions he's betting in, and because the button is the most powerful position in poker, I know he's going to 3-bet with a lot of strong, weaker hands than mine here, like ace queen, ace jack, king jack, queen jack, king 10. There are all these hands that he's going to re-raise, and I don't want to let him, and if he's got queen jack, then he's got like a 40% chance to win the hand, so I don't want to let him realise that equity, so I'm just going to re-raise and get it all in here like 100% of the time. Re-raise is in, I'm going to put in a 4-bet, again for the reason of fold equity, where if I just call when he's got queen jack, I'm going to lose that $27 40% of the time, but if I re-raise he can't go all in with queen jack, and I'm going to win that $27 100% of the time. Unless he spazzes out, goes all in with queen jack, then whatever, that's a good thing. If he wants to play that bad, it's good for you. So I'm going to put in a 4-bet here. When it comes to the sizing, when people have ace king, people think I have to re-raise big, I want to get it in, what if he calls? But really, people flatting your 4-bets is not like a problem in poker. If people are flatting 4-bets all the time, then you can just tighten up and own them. But what you want to do is balance this play so you can do it as a bluff. What amateur players and fish do with ace king, he makes it 18. I see people make it to like $80, $70, and that is just like ridiculously bad sizing. You want to, because we want to do this play as a bluff, right? When he's got queen jack and you've got something like ace 2, you want to be able to get him to fold that queen jack sometimes, and the way you do that is by balancing your bet sizing between your strong going all in hands and your weak hands, like ace 2. And if I'm making it 80 here with ace king, then that is just ridiculous, because you don't want to make it 80 when you've got ace 2, because what if he's got ace king or pocket queens? He's going to go all in and you're going to have to fold after putting in $80 in the pot. It's ridiculous, and that's something that fish do all the time. So look at my bet sizing here. I imagine, I can't remember what my bet sizing was back in the day, but somewhere between 38 and 45 is optimal. I imagine like 42, 40 is pretty good, and that gives you a really good price when you're bluffing. When you've got ace 2 and you think he's bluffing and you want to get him to fold, then you can make it 40 and pick up the $27 in the pot, so it doesn't have to work as high a percentage of the time to win the money. And also, if he's got something like pocket 10s, then you want to like bring him in when you've got like aces and kings. If you make it 80, he might just fold those like pocket tens, and you want to like induce them in. So by betting it smaller, it gives them a better price to call, and you can own them on that street. So I imagine make it 42 here. Okay, now table 4. I've got ace 10 off. This guy raises from the cutoff position. Basically, it's kind of a hand that is kind of, it's not strong enough to call, because it's going to be dominated by kind of like ace jack, and we're out of position. When you're out of position, you just get owned so much. Try not to play out of position without a strong hand, like hardly ever. And also he's 3-bet, c-bet, fold to 3-bet 70% of the time, so 77% of the time he's gonna fold, and I pick up the $9 that was in the pot, so I'm risking 20 to win 9. And then the other times he calls, he's gonna have hands like pocket 7s, pocket 8s, pocket 9s a lot, sometimes pocket 10s, and ace 10, and yeah, he can have 7 when he calls. He's gonna have 7s from jacks to his range basically. And by re-raising, we can represent big cards like ace king, ace queen, ace jack. And so whenever the flop, so say we've got ace 10 and we raise, and the flop comes like king queen 2, we can bet, and we can get him to fold pocket 9s, pocket 10s, pocket jacks a very large percentage of the time. So it just makes it a really good play just to re-raise, put lots of pressure on those medium hands, and just trying to pick up the pot basically. But he folds anyway, so he pick up the money. I'm not sure I'm going to. I'm going 48. That's too big. Here, king. We notice it's against the same player. I fold for weed, and when he raises from under the gun and he's tight, he has a strong range. So that's why I make my 3-bet a bit big here. I make it 22 instead of my normal 20, because I imagine he's got a strong range, which means he's not going to fold before the flop. So you want to get as much money in as possible. That's why I make it to, and it's just kind of sexy that it's against the same player, and he re-raises us, and now we're about to re-raise him back, and we're re-raising him on the same table. It might make him think he's playing bluffing on one table, when in actuality we don't want him to fold on either. We're not bluffing on either. So it's just kind of sexy. It happens at that time. So let's just see how these play out. I'm not sure what happens. Yeah, 48's way too big, especially when now maybe the bet sizings change over the last year, but nowadays just make people kind of realize that if you make it like 40, 42, it has the exact same effect as when you made it like 48 or 50. So people are just making like 40, 42 just to save the extra like $8 or $6 when you're bluffing. So, but it's a minor thing. Okay, so this is the trigger session. This is what fish hate. This is why they. So he folds a king, but calls the flats the 4-bet with ace king. Now when he, so you have to think, what is his range for flatting this 4-bet? He's going to have hands like pocket jacks, pocket 10s a lot, maybe pocket queens if he's just playing really tight. Then he's going to have hands like ace queen and some like suited connectors that he didn't want to fold. So hands like maybe jack 10 suited, 9 10 suited. And he might think, well, he's got ace king, so he'll get like a decent pair or a decent draw and go all in and pick up the money from the fold equity. So the question is, do you want to bet this flop? And the question is yes, and that is the answer for me is yes against this particular time, because if he's got hands like jack 10 and you check, he's going to think, oh, he's got ace king, I could just bet like small twice and I can win this $96 pot with like jack high, and you don't want to give him that incentive to do it. And also you have to remember that when you 4-bet before the flop, a lot of the time you're going to have like strong hands like ace or kings, so you want to balance the times you have that by betting a lot when you only have ace king, so then you get more value when you've got those hands. But I'm not going to bet big here. Imagine if he's got like pocket 10s, we've got 25% equity, so we've got the 6 outs twice, so imagine betting something here like 40 is like optimal. I can't remember what I do, but there's no reason to bet more than that. Because if we had a strong hand here, like pocket aces, which is like absolutely crushing this flop, there's no way you don't have the best hand, then you want to entice them in with hands like pocket 8s and pocket nines, tens, and so you don't want to bet like 80 into this flop. There's no reason, there's no bad turn cards for your hands. So betting like, you could even bet like 30 in this flop, and you're still going to get the whole $200 stacking, because you bet 30, you put in $30 each, that makes the pot 150, and he's only got 180, and that's only on the turn. So you can bet 30, 40, 50, and it still gets you like all in, and it's fine on 30, 40, 50, like 30, 50, 70. So imagine I bet 40 here. If he raises all in, then he's got pocket jacks or pocket tens, and you have to fold. And if he calls, then decide what to do on the turn card. So how much am I going to bet? Bet 40, yeah. Oh, two more hands here. Here again, flop a set. I bet 40. Raising ace 10 off on the button. Here we've got pocket fives. Table 4, we get squeezed. It's just not a good hand. I'm not going to call. It's just too easily dominated. Never going to hit a set. Here, so here, fold the pocket five, discipline fold, make sure you do that every time. I pretty much fold any pair below like pocket tens. Here, pocket fours on this flop. Not always going to raise a set, but I am in this situation because there's so many draws you can have. Table 1, obviously. Think of the hand you could raise this flop with as a bluff, like 6, 7, 2, 3, ace 2, any flush draw, any jack. If you've got like if he's got something like pocket queens, you want to get the money in now, because you don't want a scare card to come off like an ace or a king. If an ace or a king comes off and he's got pocket queens, you're not going to get his whole stack. So it's much better to raise. The reason I said before, get money in the pot with a decent hand. But yeah, the sets kind of play themselves. You just raise, bet. Here he min raises, which is like the most annoying thing in the world. Like if he wanted a bluff, then min raising is probably the best way to do it. But I just think he's gonna have like pocket jacks or pocket tens here so often, and when he's put like 80 in plus, he put in like 50 before the flop. So like so his range for think about what he's done. He 3-bet, flat a 4-bet, and then raised the flop. Like, is he really going to have like Jack 10 here and just be spewing off like $200? Like, look at his stats. He's only playing 19, 15. It's just not really going to happen. I imagine he's just going to have a hand from tens, jacks, or queens, and just going with it. If you stick it all in a call, just putting it all in with like 24% equity. You've got how much money have you put in? Like 90. So you have to risk another 170 to win back your 90. It's just not worth calling, or a lot of fish will call here. It's not worth calling or going all in with ace king, unless the only time it's worth it is this guy is a complete lagtard idiot and could just be doing this with like any random hands. I see people do this like ace queen and call it off. If you're an idiot, you can go all in, but when he's only playing 19, 15 and he flatted a 4-bet and then raised the flop, he's just going to have a strong range. So as annoying as it is to put in like $90 and fold, it's the most profitable to play. Here, beautiful situation. He 3-bets the flop, and we just want to get on set. So he's going to think for a moment, as if you've got like a flush draw and you're thinking like, don't give away any timing tells. Just take like, try to count to like 5 before you make any like big decision. So you won't give any timing tells. Just going to think for a bit and then think as if you've got like ace jack or like 6, 7 of clubs, and just think, should I go all in? Yeah, fuck it. As if that would be your thinking if you had a draw. So he's going to shove over his flop 3-bet. He's got pocket fives. That's quite cooler of the century. Like, don't worry about situations. Don't worry about situations like this where there's like nothing you can do. Like, getting as much money in here is the most profitable play every single time. Don't be scared when he does that 3-bet. Oh, does he have pocket jacks? Does he have pocket fives? Like, it happens, but it's very rare. And the amount of money you're gonna, so yeah, I lose 200 in this situation, which happens like 1 in fucking 2,000 times. But but you make much more money from all the other times he's got ace jack, pocket queens, pocket kings, pocket aces, a flush draw, and it's not folding. So don't worry about it, it's just a caller, and that's why you have a bankroll. And on that note, I think we'll end the video. Damn, I only went through like 30 minutes of footage. I've got like another 2 hours worth, so it's going on a while. I might make another one part right now, but yeah, there won't be me talking as much in the other parts. I'll try to get through more of the footage, but I kind of need to explain a lot of the shit as you go along, but a lot of it becomes second nature. So again, here, pocket fives, just folding. And on that note, and on that 4-4 caller, let's sign off the video. Ooh, 1 minute.